Hello, and welcome. Welcome to Manifestation Monday. Oh, I was actually not sure what to bring in today because I had two topics and I couldn't decide between the two. So I began this morning doing a breathwork session at 3 a.m. and I want to share with you three really not takeaways, but actually just tips. I was still in that state because when you do breathwork for longer than 10 minutes, then it has the same effects as psychedelic. It really takes you places. It's a deep experience. It can be, depending how much you allow and you relax into it, but it can be. So I was still in that state, but coming out, just wanted to bring. I actually brought 2 points in my Instagram, but I want to bring three in here. One just that I didn't get to mention. So the first one being. Uh, A lot of people are afraid to go into the process or the inner work because they're like, I'm going to open up this Pandora box and I'm not going to be able to close it back up. And it's just going to be huge and it's going to take over my life. And that isn't true. So, for example, today, I had the breath work from 3 to 6 a.m. And then I have a life. Like, I've got two kids and they were waking up right when I was finishing up. And I knew that after the session, I have to get them ready for school and take them there and do life. And then I have a client session, so I can't hold put my life on hold when there are things coming up. And there was a lot. It was a 3 hour session, and understanding that you can seal it. I opened it up, there was a lot coming up, and then I seal it until I am ready to come back to it later today. So there is that possibility. And this is what I do with my clients. After most sessions, sorry for that, many sessions, they go into, whoa, that was intense. And now what? And I say, nothing. Like, that was it. The shift, we did the shift, we did the energetic shift. Now it's about the integration because I work every 2 weeks with the client, leave space for integration, and we have the call in between to just see how is it going. So it just self-care, which is never a bad idea. What do you really need today? Stay hydrated. What maybe people are called to particular foods or take care of their bodies in a particular way. And I definitely give like steps. Okay, what do we do after a particular session, depending on how the session went, the needs of the client. However, um, it's not that you have to be in this intensity of it for 2 weeks or a week until our next sessions. Like, it's not that at all. You go on with your life. We have our lives. So that is one of the points that I want to bring in here, that it's like it was a lot. And usually I would plan it so that those breathwork sessions are just in the time that I would take the day off, or I would just take it easy. I didn't have the opportunity to do that. And I'm like, well, that's okay. We just seal it and then I open it back up when I'm ready. And know with that that's not to be used as bypassing. So I show clients how to do this at the place where I know that they're not going to use it for bypassing. Because it's like, in a war zone, soldiers, like, there's that fight or flight, right? You have to make a decision then. You don't have time to process, how do I feel about this? Let's think about it, right? What does my inner child think about this? You have to make decisions quickly, but it's important to come back afterwards to that place where, things were rushed. For example, you were in fight or flight. How do I feel about this? What authentically was coming up for me? What was real for me, for deeper parts of me, for my essence as well? So working with the different dimensions, and it doesn't sound, it's not as time consuming as it sounds. So that is the first point that I want to bring in here. Point number two. Um, no, I do not believe I talked about it on my YouTube. I didn't mention it earlier in the year on my Instagram. If you have not tried it, try meditating with your eyes blindfolded. Have a blindfold on your face. It's a completely different experience. This is something actually that a friend of mine recommended to me years ago. I believe it was 3 years. And I first tried that. And actually, that friend, he was doing a practice. I believe it was 48 hours of just complete darkness. All the shutters were down. And he wore a blindfold, just like taking it off only when he wanted to drink, because that he was also doing a water fast for that time. So it was a lot more intense. But the point was that when you have the blindfold on, the meditation is very different. The meditative experience is quite different. I know that I've experienced myself. I've also heard that feedback from other people. And yeah, so if it resonates, I strongly recommend that you try it out. And the third point. Oh, okay. The third point is that it it opens a whole topic of intuition and connection. So we a lot of people go into, was it intuition? Was it my mind? Like, which one was it? I don't know. Because there are thoughts that just kind of pop in this place of, the meditative state here in the, or maybe when you're doing breath work. So this is why I'm addressing this, because it was just, I really felt it in the session. And I do these once a month. I've done them for the last 4 months, I believe. And after the first time, I realized that I should have recorded myself. So as I'm listening to the instructions and doing the breathwork session, I'm also recording myself because just so much guidance comes through for me in those times. Because you're tapping into something deep, something beyond the mind. You're really going into the body memory as well, the body's wisdom. It's really like a psychosomatic experience. So, um, recording yourself, and this is where, and after that, re-listening to it, what was really coming up. I know that for me, some things that I said, I'm like, I don't even remember saying that. Well, most of the session actually. So then we go into, the mind will analyze it and go into, is this intuition or is it just my mind speaking? And with this one, understanding that it will become easier with time, just as you practice listening to your intuition, you're going to really feel, you may feel in your body, you may feel, um, I don't know, a sensation. It may be a particular texture, maybe a particular color that you see when you receive that guidance. So once you learn, and I actually recently just made a video that you can check out. I believe it was last week, how to connect to that divine guidance, where I talk about that a bit more deeply. And I have some other videos on my channel as well about intuition specifically. So these practices really support us in connecting to your guidance when the mind just isn't there. And record yourself, write it down right away before it leaves you. And I know that, especially when I was doing the 10-day meditation, which is something I do every year around the Christmas time, um, it seems so obvious, like those intuitive things, this inner knowing just seems like, "Ugh, I would never forget this. This is the most obvious thing ever." But then when the mind takes, a hold of you, it's, and you're in that place of doubt, of uncertainty, of, it's like that thing that you just, oh, I know how life works. I'm one with God, life source consciousness. I'm just, there's this complete clarity, and you're feeling held and loved and all of that. And you feel like, I would never forget this. Like, this is my essence. This is who I am. How can I possibly forget who I am? That's impossible. And then you have those moments where you do, because the mind takes over. So, recording yourself, in a meditative state, having a notebook right next to you. And a lot of those teachings, this is where the contradiction goes in. That's why I wasn't sure. I was like, oh, how do I start talking about this? Um, that, oh, meditation should just be observation, and you shouldn't give any attention to your thoughts. And Esther Hicks Abraham talks about this a lot. They talk about how when Esther first started meditating, she was told to just, cancel out all the thoughts. The thoughts come, and then you just come back to your breathing, and that's it. And Abraham was trying really hard to come through, but she wasn't, she was receptive, but she wasn't listening. She wasn't, acknowledging those messages, those thoughts. And how do we know, right? Like, well, how do I know if it's guidance? How do I know if it's my essence talking, or if it's my mind? For us to tune in to our essence, for us to trust our intuition, we first have to come into the right relationship with the mind. The mind has to feel safe. Is that connection with the inner child? Is, how can I trust myself? How can I trust life? So it's not that, oh, those thoughts don't matter. Or, I mean, this is what I started with cognitive behavioral therapy. It's like, oh, well, those thoughts are just, if you feel something, just think a different thought and you're going to feel different. All feelings are thoughts. And yes, that's true for the new thoughts. However, uh, most people, I'm sure there are exceptions, very rarely, we already carry a lot of baggage. We already have so many trapped emotions that are already there. So, yes, it's fantastic to learn the way how to I change right now my feelings through my thoughts. However, we also have to work with that which already is in there, which is already, all these repressed emotions, everything that you didn't allow. So, how do we work with that? And this is really coming into the right relationship with the mind. Can I listen? Can I listen to the fearful thoughts? It doesn't mean that I have to act on them. It's simply, can I love that part of me that's afraid, that feels not enough, that feels anger, that feels rage, that feels just scared? And again, not doing anything about it, not trying to fix it, but just, I love you. And you can be safe with me because if I really, you may not resonate with the word inner child. I use that when I work with clients, but you can, replace with other words, the most vulnerable part of you. If that inner child can be safe with you, who can it be safe with? It's not the emotions that were the problem, is that we believe that they were inappropriate. We believe that, our anger was inappropriate because we listened to people who didn't have the right relationship with their own anger. And those people may not be there anymore. You may not be so much, around your parents. They're not all over you all the time. However, when we grow up, we continue that bullying ourselves. We keep rejecting, the angry one or the sad one or the one who's scared, the one who's hurt, the one who's, feeling like it's not good enough. So, tuning into the intuition and having really that crystal clear clarity comes through creating that right relationship. And of course, if this is something that you want to dive deeper into, this is what I do with my one-on-one in my one-on-one containers, 3 and 6 month containers with my clients. So you're welcome to reach out and we can set up a free clarity call to see, where is it that you are on your journey? And it may be that this work aligns with you. It may be that it doesn't, and then I can recommend another resource or something that you can look into instead, which is right for your path. So I hope that was useful. I know those were definitely, tips. Like that's why I wanted to come in here because like I wish I knew this earlier, right? That I'm not gonna be trapped in feeling that intensity of it all. It's like, that is a way to go deeper in the meditation, something as simple as a blindfold and record myself, from the first session and not later on, so that because that intuition just kind of it comes and it leaves right away. And even though you think like there's no way I can forget it, we do. So just have that in writing or an audio format, so you can come back to it. On this note, I am wishing you such a powerful day, such a powerful week. We have a full moon coming up this week, I believe, don't we? So, what is it that you're ready to release? What is it that you're ready to let go of? We're kind of coming into the end of summer. Well, we have until the equinox, until September 21st, I believe. So, still, summer is still happening, but as we're kind of going into, the calendar fall from September, wrapping things up, what is it that you're ready to release and come into September, come into this new, I don't know, a lot of people are kind of feeling productive in September. It's like, okay, at the end of the year, how do we finish strong? How can you come into that with more intention, with more, okay, I've released the things that don't serve me, and now I'm ready to go full into what does. So what does that look like for you? I would love to hear your comments below. And until next Monday.